We wanted to make our shop a one-stop destination for anything your car may need.
I knew really nothing about cars in general. But then when I'd get calls from insurance and I'd ask them, like, how does this go? Like, I'd kind of learn through that.
It's really like now people do if you sneeze the wrong way. So
yeah,
wherever you can protect yourself, you have to. The car is a weapon that's got your name on it. People will sue you for anything now.
Yeah.
What's outrageous is that you're worth billions of dollars and you're not paying $300. That's what's outrageous. And when they try to challenge me, they usually leave crying. Yeah. So,
oh my goodness.
Hi, I'm Brad Hurlock, your host of the Garage Grit podcast from AA Shop Marketing. Thank you for being here today. I'm excited about the panel. Today's episode is about having repair shops, mechanic shops, and collision shops under the same roof. What benefits they give, advantages they have in the market, how well they work together, and other ideas that can come from that as far as the next steps. So without further ado, let me jump in and actually introduce our guest. Let's start with Gina. Gina, why don't you tell us a little bit about your shop and your setup?
Sure. My name is Gina. Shop's name is Metric Motors. We're about an hour north of New York City. We do both mechanical and collision repair. Mechanical for almost 50 years now. We have 10 bays at our mechanical shop, and then our body shop's about 6 bays. 20 employees, I would say 20 to 25 employees. We work on, in our mechanical shop, probably about 50 cars a day on average. The body shop side is newer to us, so we've been doing that for the past, Dad, correct me if I'm wrong, 4 years or so. So we're more experts in mechanical than collision. So the collision is a work in progress. And that's something that I focus a lot on. My days are a lot of collision, marketing, recruiting, dealing with insurance companies. So yeah, the background.
So that's interesting. And that's, you said about 4 years with the collision side. Is that about the time that you spent more time full-time in the shop? Did you bring the collision side to the equation?
It was a passion. It was something that my dad and I both wanted to do. We have a lot of colleagues in the industry that we've met over the years that have had much success in that business. And so we wanted to make our shop a one-stop destination for anything your car may need. My dad really likes restoring old Ferraris and Alfa Romeos. And he used to actually do it when he was originally in business. Back in the 70s, he used to do body work, but the insurance companies were a big quandary, still are. So we just wanted to take it on together, see what we could make of it. We've been enjoying it so far. There's a lot of struggle, but we've been enjoying it.
Well, I'm glad you're a part of the podcast. We'll be talking about that a little bit more. Shanley, how about if you tell us a little bit about Austin Spencer?
So it was my dad, and he had a partner, the Spencer side. My father is Alan Austin, and they opened up in 1982. They started collision and mechanical, and that's what we've been since. In 2016, they split up, and it's just my dad's shop now. We're in Rochester, New York, so that's an hour east of Buffalo. We have about 16 bays, 4 or 6 for mechanical, and the rest are body. We've got a frame machine. We're divided into 2 buildings, but they're right next to each other. Our front building is our front office, detail. We have 2 detail bays, 2 paint booths, and another bay for body work. And the back shop is all collision or mechanical, mainly. I started working for him when COVID hit, and I was there for probably 4 years working on the day-to-day. I was doing both the mechanical and collision just because we had a lot of people leave and my dad needed help. I knew really nothing about cars in general. But then when everyone quit, I was just asking. Honestly, I'd get calls from insurance and I'd ask them, how does this go? I'd learn through them. I learned a lot through my dad, estimating and the body guys. But a lot of it, like the paperwork, I learned through the insurance companies and just picking stuff up on my own. But now I work more on the collision side and just working on the shop in general.
Okay.
Offices. But yeah.
So similar to Gina as far as on the collision side. All right. Well, and Greg, Gina already kind of gave the summary of the size of your shop. Thank you also for joining us. Is there anything you want to add? Maybe a little bit of the history? She mentioned how you were working on Ferraris back in the day. Tell me real quick about yourself. Introduce yourself, please.
So basically, we grew up in the country and you had to have things that were interesting as a youth. We were into go-karts, mini bikes, motocross, and that's how I bridged into working on cars. Way back then, nothing was reliable. You had to be a mechanic to have any source of fun as far as a go-kart, mini bike, or a motocross bike. Nothing was reliable, so you had to fix them all. I bridged into being somewhat of a mechanic, and then as I grew a little bit older and started to become more interested in cars, I started to learn about them as well. So that's how I started off, turning a hobby into a profession, and then I kept running with the ball. At that point in time, opened up a shop in 1978. I started actually being in business on my own. By 1980, built a facility. 1993, rebuilt the facility again, and it's been that way since.
Same location.
Of the
So
area.
you were able to stay in the same spot.
Same spot. The apple didn't fall too far from the tree, as they say. The town that we're physically located in has a house count of about 800, believe it or not. So we've done a lot of aggressive marketing over the years, and we've managed to gain a fair amount of activity. The activity is not what it used to be, but there's still a healthy flow. To make it more interesting, we began bridging into different things. We've already bridged into repairs, of course, diagnostic work. We straighten rims, and recently, 3 years ago or 4 years ago, got involved in collision work, which is something that we had done initially anyway, but I put it to the side. It wasn't working, and just focused on mechanical work for the better part of the 40 years we've been in business. And
I want
then
to push back
we
here.
got
Why
into-
wasn't it working?
What's that?
Why wasn't it working?
I was only 25 years old, so it was a little bit difficult for me to learn how to be in business. So number one, I was a technician, service writer, paying the insurance,
Too many
my
hats.
bookkeeping, working 15 to 16-hour days relentlessly every day of the week. And then trying to work with the insurance companies was a little bit too much for me. So it was the collision work and the paint work wasn't really the issue. It was working with the insurance companies. They were very difficult to understand at that point in life when I was 25 years old. So anyway, we're
I don't
getting
think it had
around
anything
to
to do
doing
with
it and
the
see that
age.
it's a great resource for revenue, and it's just a vengeance that I've got. We've recently started to do windshields and ADAS, and that's another thing that's fairly productive, I would think. And
You guys are doing ADAS in-house?
yeah, we've been for quite some time now, since it really came out about 4 years ago. And we're even we have a little loaner car fleet it's not as presentable as we'd like it to be. So we're going to replace the loaner cars, and I'm tempted to buy and renovate insurance auction cars and possibly open a used rental car agency. We've been fairly profitable at renting cars to people for collision repairs, and we think we should push that a little bit further. We're trying to expand the business, and it's been difficult.
So, and anything good is difficult. I applaud the progress that you've made. I'm kind of curious. I mentioned before in the pre-podcast about how we had an episode in December of 2024 about ride shares versus shuttles versus rentals. And so you're mentioned just there in a moment ago that you are doing rentals for your customers. Well, what's your setup there? I'm curious how that's working for you.
We've got a contract that's been scrutinized repeatedly by a lot of attorneys. That was the first step. We've got enormous amounts of liability and umbrella insurance on them. They're used for collision purposes, and originally they were used for people. We were unable to get their cars back to them in time. The repairs escalated to relieve the tension of them not being able to get to work. We basically lent them cars for the longest period of time. For the last 30 years, we've done that. And recently, it's a profit center with the insurance companies.
So when you rented cars or lent cars out, you mentioned how back in the day when it was a long repair, you would just lend the car. Was that a formal rental situation, or was that a very casual, here's a backup car that we have and we're not using, go ahead and use this? And I'm talking about long ago, right? Before you actually made it a profit center.
It had always been safeguarded with insurance and properly registered.
Okay.
And actually a separate corporation with...
That's what's going to be my follow-up question.
With a fairly severe contract that it's signed, and we get their insurance and their documents to make sure that they're significant people that we're lending them a car to,
right.
and yet relieve a lot of stress from the repair process.
It
absolutely does.
Thing to do.
But it's important to note that you put it under a different DBA, it wasn't directly under the same name as the mechanic shop.
Yeah,
I've heard from insurance companies, from an insurance perspective, that's almost necessary.
yeah.
You need to have that extra.
Yeah, I asked my attorney friends and my insurance brokers, what is the proper amount of protection that you would need in this day and age of litigation? I get a variety of different answers, and I guess it's just based on how much you're trying to protect. So that has been a concern. We think we're insured properly, but I guess you never know.
Yeah, well, the separate company, and I'm not a lawyer, but maybe we can try to find an insurance company, come in and explain how to actually have that structured. Do you have a separate DBA for the repair versus the collision side, or is that one DBA?
No, that is one. The loaner rental cars are a separate corporation.
Do you have other corporations, or is that going to be the insurance purchasing side? You're going to set up a separate division for that as well?
No, we have those two.
Okay. And Gene, are you the one handling the paperwork for the rentals?
Yeah, so I found, I don't know if Shanley also uses this. It's called shoploaner.com. I don't know if you have loan, but
I do, but I don't know about this. This is a problem that I've actually been curious about.
yeah, so we used to use pen and paper agreements that were completely insufficient. It's a cloud-based system. You can use it on a tablet. It has a comprehensive legal agreement for them to sign. You can add in things if you want. It's customizable. It's like $40 a month. You can send them a link. They fill it out at home. So when they come in, they're ready to just leave in the car. There's no chaos. Older people don't know how to use it. So you have to do that for them. You take a picture of their insurance ID card, their driver's license, and it takes a credit card as a liability. It's like a $50 hold on their credit card.
That is incredible.
Worth it.
We take a physical copy of their license and have them sign a paper liability. I really don't know what that all covers and how legitimate it is.
We used to do it exactly the same way. And, it's really like now people do if you sneeze the wrong way. So wherever you can protect yourself, you have to.
No, I'm definitely going to look into that and try. Does it help you also keep track of where all the loaner vehicles are?
The only quandary that I'm having is that my office staff, they don't check the cars in right away the way they should. So when a car comes back, they have to go right out to the car and make sure there's no external or internal damage.
Yes.
And that's the biggest thing, is training your staff to properly manage everything. The car is a weapon that's got your name on it. We have logos all over them. Big liability for many reasons. Important to keep your eye on it.
Ours are definitely, we've gotten some beat up and you don't check them over in time, and it's like, when did it happen? So we've got pretty beat up loaners, and I want to clear them all out as well and get in a new fleet. So right now, my dad is doing the whole Copart, what you were talking about, Greg. He's buying vehicles off of Copart, and he fixes them up for cheap, and he'll sell a lot of them. But I think that I've been wanting him to turn them into loaner vehicles, just because I just want to start fresh in the loaner vehicle. And they're definitely more beneficial to have than not. It saves you in so many situations. Not a lot of people understand the collision process, especially when their vehicle isn't done when you explain when you think it's going to be done, but then that one thing happens, or a part comes in wrong or is damaged or incorrect, and then you got to wait for another part, and it's really a saving grace.
So I'm curious, have you had any testing of the contracts that you have in place? With the shop loaner system, has anyone actually tried to push that liability envelope to sue or put in a claim?
Knock on wood.
Okay.
On wood.
They've actually, this shop
never
owner
be
system
tested.
out of Shanley has saved me numerous times. This year we've had like 2 or 3 cars crashed and totaled out. They always ask you, where's your loaner agreement? Have their attorney analyze that, make sure that liability is on their insured and not us. So it's just vitally important to have. People will sue you for anything now.
Interesting. And you have it all advertised out on the cars. Do you actually mention that it's a loaner car, or is it just...
Yeah. Yeah, courtesy loaner vehicle on the side of it.
This is not an employee driving. This is another possible bad driver driving, but we gave them the car. Got it.
Yeah.
So there's no, if you don't like my driving, call this number.
Yeah, we should have that too.
And if nobody calls, we will give you a discount on the final bill. But if anyone calls, the price goes up.
I bet you'd get a lot of phone calls, whether they're good drivers or not.
All right. How many cars do you have, by the way? How many cars do you have?
We have, right now, I think 5. Had a couple of them get retired recently, and we have 5. And just like Shanley, we're looking to replace them with newer cars, probably from auto auctions. Or
How many cars do you have that you're hoping to replace soon?
It's about as many as we have.
About 5, roughly. Okay. All right. And are they also decked out, painted out, or is it just...
They are not.
Okay. That'll be phase 2. Got it.
Yeah,
All right.
that is.
That's interesting. And you're right that there's so much paperwork on not just the rental, but also the collision side of things. It really does require additional administrative staff to navigate it, handhold the customer, help them understand the different steps. And as you mentioned, if you're also trying to turn the wrenches, then how do you actually do that? And the answer is you can't. There's not enough. You can't split yourself too many ways. You've got to staff that out at some point.
It's nearly impossible to, because I feel like our job is to communicate with the customer, the insurance company, and the body techs or mechanics. And your job is to keep all of them happy. Insurance makes that nearly impossible. So you're just constantly in a battle between insurance company, getting what you need from the insurance company to give the techs what they want, the labor that they deserve, and then also the timeline that the customer wants and the job that the customer wants. It's a much bigger task than you really realize before getting into it.
And, you know, with the ADAS side of things, that's a lot of the reasons that cars are getting totaled, right? You find out that the radar is a whole other ball of wax. It looks like a small bumper change, but that alone can actually price it up. Are you able to, because Gina and Greg, because you have that in-house, are you able to, is the market pricing determined from the insurance companies, or are you determining the market pricing because it's such a new thing?
At this point in time, I think we're still in control of the pricing on that type of electrical work.
It's
we're
new
able to
enough.
get our shop, they're not controlling that.
New enough. It depends on the car. Is it static? Is it dynamic? Do you have to drive the car to calibrate it, or can you just set up targets in a room and Obviously, in European exotic vehicles, I charge a lot more. It depends. I mean, it also depends on the insurance company as well. These adjusters be like, oh, that's outrageous. That's their coined phrase. Oh, that's outrageous. Oh, what's outrageous is that you're worth billions of dollars and you're not paying $300. That's what's outrageous.
Yeah.
So I think that we still have the control, although that's probably going to change the next 5 years.
I was told the State Farm is already moving in on that to try to dictate the rates.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But we also
did you have questions
for local body shops as well. They bring their cars to us. They'll actually bring us their ADAS work rather than taking it to the dealer for that.
So that's actually become an additional profit center, not just because you're able to handle that insurance claim in-house, but also because you're able to work with additional customers. Now, Shanley, do you also have ADAS going on in-house?
We have just the basic scanning system, but we get paid to pre-post scan. Sometimes you got to go back and forth with insurance till you get an agreed upon price. But for the most part, they all pay. Right now, $75 pre and post is where we're at, or 1 hour mechanical labor. But you also don't know what they're going to force your mechanical labor to be.
But that helps having that piece in-house, so you don't have to outsource to the shop.
With the bumpers and everything. For a lot of newer vehicles, I spend extensive time trying to figure out exactly what parts need to be recalibrated. Get some sublet company to come in, and they'll come to our shop and they'll do it.
If you've got the space for it.
Yeah, we definitely have a lot of space for.
But I was just referring to the requirements for the space and the level, the lighting, all of the above, right?
Yes,
it varies from make to make.
Yeah, and there are times where we have to send the vehicle to the dealer. afterwards,
Okay.
after we got the repairs finished, and we'll get it done there. But luckily, we are also in a spot where I think we've got every dealership around us.
Now, Gina, are you handling, you mentioned European cars. Are you focused on European cars? You're shaking your head in disagreement. So, no, you work with any type of vehicle. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't need to be a metric system type.
No, the name is self-defeating because originally he was working on foreign cars back in the day,
Right.
and that's where the name's derived from. Now, we work on all makes and models. Our number one car just ran a report the other day as a Subaru. We do service anything that comes in.
Is it the same on the repair side?
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
How long have you been across the spectrum on repair side? How many years?
My entire life.
Okay.
I remember walking through the shop when I was really young, just writing out paychecks that didn't exist. My mom would give me the old-fashioned paychecks, walking through the shop, yelling at everyone. I've been in this business my entire life.
Does it make you smile, Greg? You happy about that?
Yeah, I'm grateful. My daughter's very enjoyable to work with, and I have no plans of retiring.
And so what is your role there in the shop right now? Are you turning wrenches?
I have a different production-based system than most folks are using out there. If I were to fill in for someone on vacation, it would be a shop foreman position, and we do things a little bit differently. Yeah, that's where it is. I do work on cars. Right now, I'm building an engine. I've just built a transmission a couple of days ago. I'm doing a valve job on a car and odds and ends that require things to be done in slow motion. I don't have the energy I had, but I'm still participating. Yeah.
But you said your process is a little bit different.
Yeah.
How can you tell me about that?
System that, a repair shop is a labor factory. We're working very briskly all day long. The work is relatively heavy. It's not as heavy as the mason's job, but in some situations, it is more so. Transmissions are difficult. Front ends, cross members. There's a lot of it that's a hard, strenuous job. Then there's the technical points of diagnostic work and the rest of it. So I've divided up our labor force into several categories. It is driven by the shop foreman in the amount of work coming at us, the activity level, the stage is set by the shop foreman, and the quality of work, the consistency with the calls of work, and the quality of work. We do 40 to 50 cars a day. The net result of that is one man's quality level. All of the work that goes through the shop is as though one person did it all.
Okay.
Do you understand that, though? Because I don't know if he explained that intuitively.
I know that it's a vague and general thing to say, but that's the gist of it.
Gina, why don't you add some flavor to it or some additional information? Go ahead.
Yeah, most jobs I've known basically have all flat rate tech that diagnose, test drive, and do their own work. Our shop foreman test drives all the cars and diagnoses all the work. We also have another diagnostic tech that's been with us for over 40 years. He's more of our electrical check engine light diagnostic tech. So there's really just two guys in the shop that drive all the work, they diagnose all the work and call all the work. And then once the technician R&Rs, whatever part is defective, they're the only two people in that shop that check the work, make sure all the nuts and bolts and everything that technician touched are tight, proper, and completed correctly. It gives us repeatability in the work. There's not like 15 different guys touching cars. It's just a chaotic mess. We find that this works the best for us. We're really high volume. In the summer, we could do 60 cars a day in the mechanical side. It gives us repeatability. It's good to control the volume, and we find that it's just been the best. We don't have any iPads. We use pen and paper. We print out repair orders, due lists with handwritten note due right from wheel bearing, oil change, inspection. And it is the most old-fashioned but the most effective way of doing our business, because I find that the technology, these virtual inspections, it is such a bottleneck. It's just a time waster. It's time that we don't have in the day because we're so busy.
I have to say, we're definitely old school. We have two mechanics right now. We have an A tech mechanic. He does all the diagnostics and like the more difficult, what's wrong with this vehicle type of stuff. And then we have our other mechanic who He's learning other things, but right now he does like the basic in out brakes
Or
inspection,
Yeah.
that stuff. Our tech, if he diagnoses a vehicle, he's the one fixing it. Just because even if a customer comes in and they say, oh, this is wrong with my car, or it needs new brakes, we still have our mechanic diagnose it, just because we want to actually fix the root problem of the vehicle. And if he looks at it, it's easiest for him to be the one fixing it. We've had it before where it goes from our A tech and then our B tech will do the repairs, and then it gets messy from there. And so we definitely stopped doing that. This isn't the best for mechanical. It's mainly collision, but we do have the CCC estimating system.
Yeah, we do.
We'll write our estimates for mechanical on there. Right now, we have a difficult job getting all the notes in that we need to. When they look over a vehicle, they have a paper. We print it out to them. We don't use tablets either, but like they'll have a checklist that they'll pen and paper, just check off with the whole like looking over the car process, and they'll give a copy of that back. For mechanical, we do not do the whole photos and everything. We'll just do our invoicing on there and our estimating, writing on the estimating lines, print it out, hand it to them. The collision side is much different with the repair process and CCC estimating system. We'll use that quite heavily, but it still is very time consuming on that end. We also have all data, but we get the labor times for the mechanical stuff via all data, just because they're different and more accurate, but we'll still transfer it over onto CCC.
All right. So I've got so many questions. I need to jump in here. I'm really curious about this because I talk to shops all the time that they swear by their DVIs because it helps them build trust with the customer. I can tell them that this needs to be done, but if they see the video of it not working, it registers with them differently. I hear that all the time. And so I find that really interesting. Gina, actually, your body language did it best when you just went like this.
Owners
We were talking about it.
Yeah. So I come from a different perspective. Most shops don't do the volume that we do. We're one of the busiest shops in the Northeast. And it's like, my technicians don't have time to eat lunch sometimes. No less have an iPad, they take lunch. But no less take out your iPad and start taking pictures of the whole car. You need to know your customer. Every customer has a different kind of requirement to build trust.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have a lot of customers that are like, text me, don't send me photos, give me a phone call. Feel like your customers. Like younger women, they like to see the videos. They show their boyfriends, they show their husbands, and they're like, hey, look at this. My wheel's ready to fall off. So it really is dependent on who you're dealing with. Everybody is so different and how they interact, they trust you. Also, it depends on your salesperson. I have some people that I deal with. I have 2 service advisors that have their own clients. My dad has a crazy Alpha Romeo customers, and my mom deals with her customers. A lot of it is personality, being able to deal with certain kinds of people. I'll never understand it.
I do agree with that. It is per customer. One thing that I definitely tried to do is, I'd say I'm fairly good at reading customers. If I could tell that they don't feel comfortable or they're like hesitant in any way, then I'll have photos taken and I will show them. Sometimes they'll stop in and ask about it, and it's okay, let's bring it back to the car and we'll show you. I agree. When they do see the processes, what's actually going on, when they can understand all of that, then it makes it easier on them and us in general. And I do try to, when they first come in, I try and explain that the best I can. When you are aware of the process and what's going on, and you talk to the customer, hear what they need or what they're looking for, every customer preference is different. As long as you work with the customer and follow through during the repair process and keep in mind of what they're looking for, then I think that's the best outcome. You get a happy customer 99% of the time.
Now, if I heard you right, Gina, you actually have, I don't know if you want to label them as all B techs, but you have that first A-level tech, that diagnostician, the shop foreman, and they figure out the problem and then pass it off to somebody who's actually going to do labor. And so now you've got a large bench. All right, who's next? And then, all right, do this. And then it comes back to them for review to make sure it was done correctly. Now, Shanley, you mentioned that didn't work for you when you tried that.
Well,
passing it off made it messier. It was faster sometimes just to have certain types of jobs where the A-level tech just gets the job done.
I think that we don't have shop foremen, so we just,
Okay.
I don't think if we had the labor and the people for it, then I think that would be the route we would go. But I don't think we're as quick moving as what Gina has at Metric Motors. So it's definitely a different process. If one mechanic is the one that looks at the vehicle, then, and they say what's wrong with it, then they're going to be the one that fixes it.
Let them finish it. Got it.
Yeah. Also, sometimes I find aren't too happy when they look at it, the other mechanic fixes it, and then something goes wrong, and the mechanic who originally looked at it gives you a whole spiel on, when you have someone else fix it.
All of the conversation that we've had makes it feel like the collision is a very separate business from the repair.
It is.
And you treat it like that. They're two different businesses. You just happen to have it under one banner.
So I actually currently am trying to make more of a split in our company. Not complete, but if mechanical and collision are two completely different things. When you're coming in for vehicle damage due to an accident, you are often 90% of the time going through insurance, its own monster. And then also you're bringing your car in for an estimate. Then you get it back and you have a scheduled date. You drop your car off on the scheduled date and your car is here for more like from 2 days till 2
weeks.
Months.
Yeah.
But for mechanical, whoever's working on the mechanical vehicles, you are on the phone with the customer. They're in and out the same day. It's a lot more pace than on the collision side. You kind of do have to treat them separately because in the front office, it's hard for whoever's working on collision vehicles for the office staff to know what's going on with the mechanical. So if you call the shop, I want to make it so that one line goes to mechanical, the other line goes to collision, just because I hate right now we're picking up the phone. It's a mechanical question and you're in the bottom. Okay, please hold. Then you got to go in the mechanical and go from there. And it's just...
It sounds like the customer would be happier with that, even though everyone loves being able to hear a voice when you call. It might be nicer to make sure you're at least in the right department.
Yeah,
or
you
the
have
right side of the
you
shop.
never have the answer.
So I didn't ask you to prepare for today's conversation, so we could just be kind of casual about it. How many cars on the collision side of the business, how many cars are you processing in a given, I don't know, you want to give me a month or a year? Yeah. Can you just give me a ballpark number of how many collision side cars you're repairing over the course of a year?
Right now, I'll give you a month.
We'll multiply by 12.
I would say once a week, we have probably 3 to 4. We'll try and get in 4 quick, 2 to 4 day jobs, bumper repair. But then you get the tow ins, I would say.
Do you have a tow truck?
We work with a tow company. So if someone does need their car towed, the customer likes a lot more when they don't really have to deal with it. So we'll call a tow company and then we'll write them a check when they get to the shop and then we'll just throw it on the insurance. On the bill, yeah. And we mark it up too.
All right, so how many cars? You said 4 or 5 per week, per month?
Yeah, per week.
Yeah, 16 to 20 per month. Okay. All right. What % of those do you think become repair customers?
Well,
I mean, they're calling, they're in an accident. They call their insurance company. Their insurance company says, here's a list of providers in your area that we work with. They choose your name. They call you. Right? They might not already be a repair side customer. If they are, then great. They've already started the process by calling you on the collision side after an accident. But if it's the other way around, my question is, are you converting that collision customer to repair? And if so, how are you doing it? And if you're not,
Yes.
it's time to think about it.
So when a customer comes in for collision, when we check in their vehicle, we check their inspection, their oil, we check mechanically what we can upsell to them. And also, if they do come in for a larger collision job and need an inspection, we will inspect it and we won't charge them for it just because we love that fee most of the time. And we're happy that they came to us for collision. And to be honest, a lot of them don't even know that we have the mechanical side. So when we do that for them, they also learn, oh, I can come to you for mechanical.
Good.
A lot of our customers are also Subaru, just because we worked with Van Bortle Subaru, and they would...
Are there just more Subarus in New York, or is like Subarus more inclined to get in accidents?
So,
or should we not say that because there's a legal ramification?
The people that drive Subarus don't know how to drive.
but for Subaru, Van Bortle Subaru, they don't have a collision shop. So they're to Van Bortle for collision damage. So they'll outsource. And they started working with bigger companies now, but we still have lifelong customers that have come to. And so that's a big source of our collision work.
Gina, how about you? And Greg, how are you guys doing on converting collision customers to repair customers? What are you guys doing to do that?
Well, the other way around for us.
Ours is the other way around from Shanley.
We're the reverse of Shanley. It's not what we would expect. It's very marginal. And everybody wants to know the reason why things happen. We've been unable to find out why it's not as productive as you would expect. We do have credibility, longevity, and proper appearance. And yet the marketing, the recognition for being a collision center, it just isn't significant. It just isn't. And we're really surprised because we have been working on that. We've been exerting ourselves quite a bit to get that to start to take off. And for some reason, it's not as productive as I would expect it to be.
I have a question. Right now, we're not a direct repair shop for any insurance company. When customers have, what I find a lot is insurance companies tell their customers where to get their vehicles repaired. A lot of times, the customer has no idea that they have an option. They don't have to go to that shop. I find that explaining that process to a customer when they're in for an estimate, just explaining, if you do call your insurance company, here's what they're going to say. And I just want to let you know, you have the choice. I make them feel comfortable and trust our shop before they walk out, because if it were me before I started working in the auto shop world, I would have no idea. I wouldn't know. Like I would listen to my insurance company. Right. It's the only advice that I'm getting.
And that's where the purse strings are in that case, right? The inclination is to default to do what they're going to say because they're the ones writing the check. So I guess doesn't surprise me.
One of my questions is when someone comes in for mechanical and that there's collision damage to their vehicle, is that when you upsell to them? Do you talk to them about it?
So we obviously have a lot of cars coming in every day. And when we first started the collision business, I told my service advisors and my foreman, if any car comes in here that's not a total POS, let me know. And I'm going to talk to them and try to give them an out-of-pocket estimate. We would have 2018 Camrys, Rogues, things that are just things that you see on the road all the time. People drive around all the time with headlights popped out, shattered, bumpers ready to fall off, duct taped to the car. I started giving them conservative, very lean estimates. Their response typically was, oh, I don't care. I've been driving around with that for 2 years now. I'm not fixing it now. I'm just going to let it rot into the ground. So I entirely stopped doing that because 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. They don't have an extra $3,000 to paint their bumper and fender. They don't have that kind of money lying around. So they're just pocketing that insurance claim, initial claim that they get when the insurance adjuster comes to their driveway and writes a pathetic estimate, what they call an estimate, and they're just pocketing that money, and then they're going on vacation with their kids or paying their mortgage. They're not interested in fixing their car.
Yeah.
If it's already been like that. So it's a long-winded way of saying I don't even try anymore unless it's like, hey, I have a brand new car, just got hit in the rear. Someone else's carrier is going to be paying for it, and I want you guys to fix it.
Yeah.
And to your point with the DRPs, I have an info packet that details what you said. You have a right to shoot. I hand it to them, then like you say, I educate them on, they're going to try to steer you their contracted shop that's going to do crap work for you, and just going to put you at a disadvantage as the insured, saving them money.
Yeah, I completely agree. Just because of exactly what you're saying with customers not wanting to pay to get this like $6,000 job done to their car. Right now, if it's just a door, I'll try and find a used door in color, and I'll explain, hey, you're saving a lot of money if you do it this way. But even then, yeah, some people, it's all what they prefer. I sometimes feel I spend too much time trying to find them the cheapest way to fix their vehicle.
I'm just going to...
You're losing money on the administrative side trying to hunt that down.
Yeah.
But I'm still curious. You mentioned that, Gina and Greg, it's the other way around, that most of your repair shop customers are becoming your collision customers. So is it just awareness and waiting for them to have an accident? And volume, obviously, 40 to 60 cars a day. What are you doing specifically, if anything, to convert that repair customer to a collision customer?
So
are you hiring people to hit them in the rear?
It's almost like we have to. I have little postcards that I give out to all the customers that leave. So my service badge staple has coupons, like $100 off your deductible. They staple that to their receipt. I tell them to be vocal about it to the customers, tell them that we do it so that when, they're in the event that they're in a crash, they tell that to a guy who want to go to Metric Motors. And try to educate the customers and tell them that we exist, that we're doing that. The big quandary that we have is that, what's the stat now? I think every 9 years somebody gets in an accident. So it's something you rarely have to deal with. It's like we've been very effective with marketing.
That's an average across good drivers and bad drivers.
Yeah.
So the repeat offenders that you mentioned just there, that includes them on the one end of the spectrum.
We've been doing collision ever since we started. We have so many customers that are we've had them since we started. So I think the more time goes by, the busier and more reputable you'll become in the collision aspect. It's definitely something that takes time. And do you have a detailer or detailing?
We have one guy will detail the car.
Another thing we do for every vehicle that comes in for collision, when we give their car back, we have our detailer do nothing crazy, but like a nice interior clean. Just because when we do collision anyways, a lot of times like you're getting some of the Bondo dust in the car or whatnot, and you want to make sure that it's a part of like our quality control. When we give back a customer vehicle, I swear we get repeat customers just because we do that. We've had customers come in and say, I just wanted to get my car cleaned again. It definitely, it's something very little, and it doesn't cost us much other than more time or a little bit of product, and we get return customers from that.
Are you cleaning cars on the repair side too?
Yeah.
I come in for a brake service or an oil change, and
unless it's something like grease in the motor or engine, then we'll clean that out. Or if our mechanic gets their wheel or seat dirty, then we'll clean that up. But nothing.
Maybe I'm rare, but that's an easy upsell. If my mechanic was offering a quick interior clean every time I got my oil change, I'd probably jump on that.
Yeah, I think right now the only reason we don't do it is just because the cars are coming in and out so quickly that it's too much to do.
Not every one, but it's an upsell option in advance.
Yeah,
I come in and I'm scheduling my service, and then you can just be like, do you also want us to do this? Instead of by noon, it's going to be by 5.
Yeah, if a customer is not happy about something and you throw that in for,
sure,
we'll detail your car for the inconvenience. Customers like that, they normally go for it.
Gina, is the detailing just on the collision side for you as well, or is it also on the repair side? How are you guys putting that into your process?
Yeah, so every collision car we detail. On the repair side, we're a little bit too high volume to detail all the cars. Like you're getting like an engine replacement done or a transmission or something pretty major, we'll detail the car for them. And then I also put out a coupon. I send out 22,000 mailers every other month. On the off months, I send out a mailer to my best 2,500 customers. And then on I think one of my most recent newsletters I sent out, I put, get a car wash if you get a repair of $500 or more. But you just got to make sure that if you're sending something like that out, you have the staff to do it because it can start actually piling up.
But my suggestion isn't just as a benefit or a concierge thing, but actually an upsell. Pay extra for that service.
Yeah.
I wonder how many of your customers are currently getting their cars detailed somewhere else.
I would say none of them because they're all absolutely gross. Our dynamic
Well, and that's actually the tell, right? If their car is clean, they're more likely to pay to have it clean. In the digital marketing space, if somebody has a website that looks like it was created by themselves, they're not spending any money on marketing, so we need to talk to them. If their car is gross, then they're not going to pay for detailing. This is the same thing.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay. All right.
I had another question.
Please, fire away.
Oh, it came and went. I'm waiting for it to come back. I think, it was about when you guys have a meeting with all your techs, do you split up the meetings, like one for mechanical side, one for collision side, and just go through the day-to-day? I just am trying to the communication within our shop and just be more efficient throughout the day. And I find right now we'll have our body techs and we'll go through all of the vehicles for body, but with our CCC system, it doesn't really split up the body and mechanical jobs. So every car we have in shop, it's all on the same list. And I just think that we spend way too much time with the body techs when we're talking about, there's a mechanical car, and then they'll get on topic with the mechanical and the body guys are just sitting type of thing. What do you do for letting your techs know what's going on for the day and organizing that?
But my setup is so different from yours. We have two different point of sale software. We have CCC1 and then we have Metric as our shop management system for the repair side. Although I despise it for many reasons, it does a really good job of letting us know how many mechanical cars we have in queue. So there's 3 columns on Metric. When you first write them up, like, hey, I'm hearing a rattling in the right front, you have the list of those people. The middle is work in progress, and then the right column is completed. Whenever we have a car come in, we get diag approval, we get approval for an oil change, whatever, that gets dumped into our middle column. I have a big screen out in my where my foreman, so this comes back to the foreman thing. So he's able to just scroll right down the middle and say, okay, we've got all these cars in queue, all the concerns, all the vehicle history is there if they need to look at it, or the service advisor will tell them or write down that's one of their jobs. If it's like, I don't know, ever since you replaced my wiper blades, my engine's been making a weird noise, you write down history X, Y, and Z at this mileage so that the foreman knows when he's driving the car, what he's looking out for, what we did, where we've been on the car. That makes us organized. The body shop right now is at a different location where the township we're in is giving us a lot of trouble to build an addition to our building. It's a very problematic township. So the body shop for us is very much separate. Like you said, the volume with collision is so low that it's hard to miscommunicate. My frustrations with communication are always on the mechanical repair side.
That makes sense.
Yeah, our office is set up where my main writer is up in the front and there is a window to the shop. The foreman can slide the window open and they communicate all day long. So it's a little bit different. You got to have periodic, like I tell my writers all the time, you guys got to meet with Pablo, my foreman, periodically and tell him X, Y, and Z has to get done today. This was promised for today and that has to be written on the repair order by EOD, by end of day. We have little code words, like if a customer is problematic. It's a little bit different than your but that's how we manage it.
That makes sense.
I'm sorry, you were trying to expand to a third building and you're having issues with the township? I found that interesting because I come across that regularly throughout the country. I've got one shop in particular in my mind in Jersey where they had to go through the process of, they decided they were going to move, and they shopped their business through multiple townships before they found one who wanted to have them.
Yeah.
I just find that curious. So the pushback that you're getting from the township, can you be specific without getting yourself in any kind of trouble?
Dad, you want to take away on that one?
In my town, they're dead set against growth. They've found two guys, an engineer and an environmentalist, that both belong in institutions. They're basically bad people. Institutions or jail. And in my particular case, the town uses them as a tool to destroy everybody's property values, dreams, and hopes, so that the board members and the planning board don't appear to be responsible for the dirty work because it's all being done by the engineer and the environmentalist. They're tools being used by the planning board.
Control, maybe.
Pardon me?
Okay. I said for the purposes of control, maybe.
But basically for the purposes of destroying everybody's property values, property rights, and controlling it so that the town just doesn't go anywhere. Actually, I've been in that same community since the 1950s. It looked better then in the 1950s than it does currently.
That's often the case.
So it's a remarkable thing to see in action, but they're basically running a Ponzi scheme. These guys get paid to be cruel to whoever presents a project in front of them. They charge them for it, and then they delay, discourage, and then eventually deny everybody.
It's like an insurance company. I was saying work.
It is it's an absolute sin what's going on. There's nothing short of it. It's sin. It should be turned over to it's public corruption on a different scale. And it should be turned over to the FBI. It really should be. It's just so wrong. It just doesn't make any sense. It's like they have taken your property, control of your property, make up rules and regulations on the fly. And it's just an amazing thing to see.
Everybody in our township, and this goes on all across the country, but ours is actually, so it's called the town of Kent, but people call it the town of Can't because they have just such a horrific reputation. We've literally been there with a property very close to ours. It's a commercial property. The school district now owns it. It's sitting there dead in the water. And a crane company wanted to put a site there. And the guy was in front of the town board. We were there. And I have $250,000 into engineering and attorney fees. When am I going to get an approval, or am I going to die doing this? Or should I just move on? And they all just shook their head. They had nothing to say. They just gave him more work to do.
They didn't respond to that statement. They just turned him back over to the criminals, the wetlands inspector and the town engineer, and they continued to work them over and drove him out.
So I played with the idea of having a topic on this podcast about dealing with townships, but it sounds like, especially with your story, that it would just be a podcast of people exclaiming their issues and battles with the township. Maybe if we find people that actually were successful. Do you expect to be successful in the end, or are you stopped? There's no progress here. You're not going to be able to build to expand.
I've been given false hope by an elected official that claims he's on my side and he's going to make change. I'm not so sure. He may just be feeding the other people with my intentions. So my intentions, I have got two choices. Litigation, which is going to cost $500,000. Attorneys charge $500 an hour, and they ding you for everything. If I choose to go political, I'll damage my customer base because there are a percentage of the population within this community that believes they're doing the right thing. They moved up from New York City and bought these modest pieces of property. They do not want anything to change at all. It stays completely stagnant. So there's a bunch of people of that mindset that they don't want to see change. They're afraid of it. They think it's the wrong path to take. And there's the other pool of people that get up in the morning and hit the ground running to go to work, keep their homes in order, spend a few moments with their family, and they don't have time to invest in finding out why the community is absolutely horrible. If you saw it, it's amazing. Every businesses with signs falling off of it, roofs caving in. It's just horrible. It's not, anyway, a lot
I
of
agree.
animosity towards this.
I'm okay with that because it sounds like you and I are of the same mind on these topics. I was overhearing a conversation local to me, and I made the comment about how my neighbor wanted to put a wastewater treatment plant on their property. I don't see why they couldn't. It's their property. As long as it wasn't interfering with my health and welfare, then have at it. It's an exaggerated scenario, but my point is, like, I have no problem that my neighbor decided to put up a large horse barn.
Yeah.
If I don't want to look at it, I'll plant some trees in between me and them. That's what it comes down to.
If then why do
Yeah, if it's not negatively affecting my health,
Yeah.
it's their property. So I'm a big proponent of property
And
rights.
I
as well.
also think it's different because it's not like you've got 20 shops throughout the state. You're a family shop that's just trying to grow. That's what I want to do for my father's company. I want to grow the shop, and it seems like that shouldn't be the target to stop. It's a small family business.
Yeah.
Like, I don't.
Did they give specific reasons, Greg? Why was it a land conservation issue, or the fact that you're dealing with hazardous materials because it's oil? You said just no progress whatsoever, but they had to have given you some sort of excuse.
The Army Corps of Engineers map shows a soil quality called Lester loam. And basically, in the woods anywhere around us, the top 3 or 4 inches of the soil is just peat moss from the fallen trees, the leaves, and the normal decay.
Okay.
And that's called Lester loam. It's prevalent in all wetlands. So the Army Corps of Engineers map shows Lester loam around my area, but it also shows a wetland several hundred yards away, separate and identified separately, not a part of my parcel. So then, because there's Lester loam in this area, they want to excavate my property to try to find a wetlands below the surface. It's an absolute insane thing to do. So what they're really trying to do is they're understanding that I'm a repair shop that's been there for 45 years. They want to excavate my entire property, pay for the town engineer, the town wetlands inspector, a soil scientist, my attorney, my engineer, and an excavator to dig up my property. They know there's no wetlands there never was. They're trying to find some source of contamination from oil, antifreeze, or whatever it may be from my operation over the last 45 years and really put me out of business. These are criminals. These are people without a soul.
Yes.
You don't have any idea of how I run my business, but it's clean. It's like a golf course. The lawn is mowed. I've got flowers. There's no debris. There's not a cigarette butt in my parking lot. But they want to excavate my entire property and have 5 professionals with an excavator there to find nothing, but hopefully find antifreeze, oil, or some sort of contaminants. They will then put me out of business.
All right, so I want to make a really awful statement. I'm recalling a time when the first time Microsoft was brought in for an antitrust violation. If I understood the story right, that ended up being a scenario where Microsoft was explained that they just have to give money. They just have to contribute money to both sides of the aisle in the campaigns to make it go away, to make it not be an issue in the future, which is awful. And I don't even have the words to describe what that means, but I wonder if, I don't want to suggest that you contribute to all the current campaign members for the re-election, but I wonder if the problem will go away.
I don't know. I don't know. They're pursuing it very vigorously. I don't know what they're up to. I'm not a jealous person. I don't want what you have. Nothing. I don't know how I don't have the average person's motivations, so I can't understand them for a minute. I don't get it.
See, now I'm just curious, and now I'm just reaching at straws because I just can't keep thinking about some John Stossel videos that I've seen about how local governments take over certain plots of land specifically because they wanted to give them away or grant them away to another contractor buddy of theirs for building.
When
The stories. Yeah.
All right, let's get back to Greg. It seems like you and I should probably speak politics after the show. I think we would enjoy the conversation. I'm kind of a weirdo, I guess, because I happen to have a pocket constitution sitting here on my desk. I actually read it from time to time. So that puts me in a different group, I guess. No scratches on my bumper, though. So I don't know if there's a correlation there or not. But anyway, all right. So you run them as very different shops. All right. I had a conversation with somebody from Texas who has a repair and collision. And you guys mentioned it briefly. Gina, I don't know if you mentioned whether or not you have a towing division, but he was saying that his business on the collision side, actually both sides, grew significantly the moment he created a towing division, the moment he opened up a towing business.
Yeah.
Have you toyed with that, Gina and Greg, or have you guys explored that at all?
No.
Yes. So we currently have a gentleman that works with us, put his business address as our address. So on Google, it's visible to our address.
Okay.
All over my website, 24/7 towing assistance, call this number. So we were hoping that that would give us some momentum. We're trying to get him on some local road systems, the rotations of those road systems for towing. There's a couple of different roadways around here that have a lot of accidents on them. We're in the process of trying to deal with the local government to get that done.
Oh, geez.
So yeah, we're working on it. We think that this right now is the best way. This way we don't have to run the towing business. We don't have to hire somebody to work 24/7, to be on call 24/7. It's really not the greatest thing in the world. He's a real nice guy.
Right.
So we're just hoping this somehow works out for us where we get more work. We've been getting like a couple of tow-ins. They're all total losses, which I'm totally fine with. But I don't know about you, Shanley, but whenever I see a really wrecked car come in, I'm like, God bless.
Well,
Total
that's
loss.
just a loss from you from a time perspective, right, Gina? Like, you don't get any money from that when that happens.
Oh, we do.
Or do you get paid for your time to take it apart from the insurance company?
So we get paid tear down, storage, admin fees. We charge $275 a day for outside storage now.
No way.
And when they try to challenge me, they usually leave crying.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's always about, you got to have them sign the proper contract up front. I'm not talking to you or your insurance company until you sign on the X. It's all about knowing your crap, because they're going to try to deceive you and say that, oh, we're not financially responsible. You have to hit the client up for this. Every day I'm trying to learn more about the regulations, and you have 6 days to respond to a claim if it's inoperable. It's a lot of legal stuff that you have to learn to really stick up for yourself.
So,
Yeah.
Have you offered discounted outside storage if they put it on the wetlands into the adjacent property?
That's funny. That's funny.
Wet storage, $2 a day.
but what did you mean by the 6 days?
I read somewhere recently, or someone told me, that if a car cannot be driven, if it's so smashed up that it can't be driven, the insurance company has 6 days to inspect that vehicle for damages. If they're outside of that 6-day period, they're in violation, and you can pretty much proceed with whatever. They really don't have any more negotiation rights.
And you count those 6 days are part of the storage.
Yeah.
And
from
when
the day that the claim reported. Yeah.
So you typically wait for them to come in and inspect the vehicle, or do you wait for insurance to come in and communicate with us what they want us to do, whether we have to tear it down or not?
Yeah.
I haven't come across the 6-day thing, but that is good to know.
I can give you some information on that, and it's good to know, because I think from what I'm understanding, if they exceed the 6-day period, you can tear the car down and proceed, and they have to pay you for it because they're outside of their 6-day window that they have.
And
if the car is drivable, it's completely different. We've been using that to our...
Yeah, I enjoy when a car is a clear total loss.
Yeah.
Just because how much time you spend going back and forth with an insurance company, matching their estimates, getting half of what you asked for on a supplement. It's so easy to just write a total loss storage fee, tear down, and most of the time give you a hard time, but that.
I love when the car writes the check and you see the car getting towed out. No liability, didn't have to fix the car.
It's like they just reimburse you for all the stuff that they make you prior, like with prior jobs. I feel like it's much deserved. It's like we catch a break.
Yes, definitely.
I'm curious, on the collision side, do you get to hear the stories as far as what happened? Some of them might be heart-wrenching.
Oh, yeah. when you have a customer that comes in, I always ask if they're okay and whatnot. Recently, we had a vehicle come in for damage. They actually hit someone else, and the person in the other vehicle did not make it. Stories, but for the most part, they're okay.
Do you normally try to find out what the story was?
You'll hear it. They'll typically, if they want to tell you, they'll tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very vocal. And even just the question of like, are you okay? Is everyone okay? They'll either get into it or not. And if they don't, then I won't
Follow the
ask. But
Right.
that I didn't ask much because the guy that was driving the vehicle, he would come in and all I did was just say, I'm so sorry. Like, I can't, what going through, like, thinking of you type of thing.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine.
So, yeah, that's the puppy. He's just 1 year old.
I have a
So it's a part Shepherd, part Belgian Malinois. We got the Belgian part because we had a 4-foot fence and he just flew over, like he needed wings like a Pegasus in the picture, but he didn't need them, right? So we put it in a 6-foot fence, and I kind of knew that wasn't going to be enough, and it isn't. He just walks up the fence, climbs it, and hops off the other side. He just scales it. And I've been told that there are stories where they actually do climb up on roofs. So this would not surprise. He's a little bit of a climber.
Wow.
It's pretty fascinating and interesting to watch. But anyway, I would think that would be a heart-wrenching part of the collision side. The answer is you take the lead of the customer, express condolences or sympathy, and then allow them to take it from there.
And the last thing they want to deal with after an accident like that is getting their car fixed. So I try, and it's instinctive. It's not like I have this whole role play.
Correct.
It's instinctive. I put myself in their shoes and I'll do it. What do you want out of this? They might total your vehicle. Like, here's the options. If they do, I want to deal with the insurance company. I don't want you to have to deal with it. I'm very supportive in their needs when that is the case.
Are there any of your collision employees who are tight with the repair side? Do they hang out after hours?
People who, like, customers?
No, I'm talking about your employees. So you treat it as a business. Both of you treat it as two separate businesses. It feels like two different separate businesses. Now I'm wondering about the internal aspect of it. And I see the time. We've been chatting for a while, so we won't go too much longer. I'm just kind of curious on the interpersonal. We've talked a lot on this show about shop culture and building teams. I can't imagine your level A mechanic doing a trust fall with the body technician. Talk to me about the interpersonal dynamics. Let's start with, are they friends with each other? Do they hang out after shop hours?
So I guess
Happy hour,
I'll
coworkers.
go first.
Go ahead.
In the front office, I have one of my I've known her ever since we were both young. She works with me in the front office. Then I have my father, and then I have my cousin husband also working in the front, and then our finance office manager. She's been with my dad for as long as I've been born. So we are all close. And also same thing with the body techs and mechanics. We're definitely close. We do, like, I'm getting a golf outing together for our shop. We do something every Christmas. We'll have a shop party. There's some that do hang out, some that don't. But if they hang out, it's like my dad, there's a band playing at this beach bar down the street, just invites everyone and goes up, shows up. It's very...
Okay.
So we're close, but
definitely
it's just becomes a part of being a small family shop, I feel like.
So there's not a lot of, even though the businesses ran separately, the body techs and the mechanics and the painter, like, they're all friends.
Yeah, I mean,
one big family.
There's always a bad day.
Gina, how about you?
Yeah, so mine is a lot more separate than Shanley's, but my mechanical shop guys, like, my foreman's been with us for 22 years, my lead technician over 40, My mom actually was my dad's secretary. She responded to an ad in the paper back in the day. So my mom's been working alongside my dad for 40.
Is that how your parents met?
They met.
Your parents met through an ad in the paper?
Well, my dad was advertising in the penny saver back in the day.
For the job.
Or for someone to help in the office. So then they started dating and they got married and the rest is history. So my mom's actively involved in the business as well. She does mostly the repair side. She really doesn't do anything on the collision side. So yeah.
Okay.
So in terms of culture, kind of like Shanley said, we take the guys out bowling, do little events at our house, Christmas parties here, and so we're very generous. We treat them all like family.
Good.
My parents are the godparents of my foreman's kids. So it's, it's very family oriented, and we like it that way because, our newest technician, I think, is like of 6 years. So there's a lot of longevity in their employment.
Okay.
So yeah, we're very blessed to have everybody there. Yeah.
Nice.
My mom stayed away from the shop as well.
Yeah, good for her. That's good.
So, did we answer and ask a lot of questions today?
Yeah, it was
I learned something.
very engaging.
Good. Good to hear. I got thinking, especially with Greg's story about the municipalities. There's plenty of political action committees to organize and get behind candidates or parties on the federal level or even on the state level, but definitely on the federal level. What people don't realize is that this coming election is in many ways more important than the federal election. Because this is actually determining whether or not your business can grow or whether your children are in the right school systems. I mean, it's so vital. But I wonder if there is an opportunity for a roaming PAC that would, or maybe this already exists and we just have to explore it. I wonder if there's some sort of roaming PAC to help shops who are trying to grow and battle municipalities with these types of anti-growth nonsense campaigns. I wonder if it exists, if there's associations that actually would jump in and come to your aid. I don't know the answer to that, but
Yeah. I'm not sure. Something has to happen. If we were to sue the town, that would cost upwards of $250,000
Oh, yeah.
in just legal fees. So we're trying to figure out.
and that's where the PAC would come in, right?
Yeah.
If there was a PAC that targeted problem situations to be behind shops, I know that these smaller organizations exist for insurance agents. So why can't they exist for auto repair shops? I've heard so many of these stories where they're battling with the local municipality. Oh, just something to think about. By the way, if you're listening to this podcast, there is a Facebook group called the Garage Grit Podcast Community or Forum. It's you have to be accepted in. Anyone that's a shop owner or a shop manager, we let them in. So just fill out that quick form, easy to do, and then you'll be a part of that community. If you know something, jump into that community and please volunteer. Even if you're hearing this podcast 3 months from now or more, this is a topic I think that's not going anywhere. This is just one part of today's podcast, right? About the townships. It's a topic but also there were a couple different moments throughout today's podcast where you might have questions that you want to ask or share your process on 2 different businesses underneath the same banner. By all means, put that out there and share your experiences. Gina and Shanley, thank you so much for being a part of today's podcast. I enjoyed it. I hope you did too. Really appreciate your time. I'm glad we all learned something, got to share stuff. And that's a wrap. Thanks for being a part of it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.